Right now. Hello, everybody. It is March 23rd, 2011. This is Dan Boul, president of 65 Amps, coming at you from my office in North Hollywood, California. And today's special guest is my good friend, John Jennings from Royer. Hey, John, thanks for coming by.
You're welcome. Great to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. Well, so, every week I give a shout out to John. I go, hey, thanks to John, for lending us a Royer 121. And so John's just down the street. So we invited him over today, and we're going to talk about microphones. Everyone here has been listening to me use the 121, and I am far from being an expert. So you can kind of assume that if I can make it sound good, it sounds fantastic.
That's the idea.
And then, yeah, you brought a couple of other. We have a 122V hooked up today, which you can explain to us in here in a little bit. And you also brought a 101 to show everybody. Mm-hmm. And we have some pictures.
Ribbon potpourri.
Yeah, right. So for a guy like me, all I know about Royer is I love them. Every time because I'm very fortunate with my job that I get to go to a lot of studios. And I get to hang out with a lot of really fantastic producers and artists and stuff just by accident. Mm-hmm. And being the nerd that I am, I was like, so what are you doing? What are you doing? What's that?
Know.
How's that to work? And the thing that's consistent in all those conversations in the 30-odd high-end studios I've been in North America is Royer 121. That's the no matter where I go, no matter what I see, different rigs, different styles, country, rock, jazz, metal, Royer 121. It's always there. It seems to be the go-to mic. And as I've told a lot of people here on the broadcast, I think I mentioned it to you also, that when I went out trying to sort out a rig for this show, I asked every producer I knew in town and every big artist, like Lyle Workman and Greg Wells and John Shanks. And
these are great guys.
Yeah, Joe Barresi, just endless list of people. And they all said, get a 121 and something else. But the first thing they always said was 121 and X. And there's a lot of varying opinions there. Joe Barresi likes a 421 with it. Greg Wells likes to use a 57 with it. Those sorts of things. Brendan O'Brien uses a AKG C14 or something.
Yeah.
A really weird 70s mic with it, as part of his sound. But it's always that, the 121's there.
It's a great anchor mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. So as we get into this, hopefully, we got a nice crowd on today too.
Yeah, we do.
So as we get into a little bit further, I'm going to play here in a minute because I know some of you came to hear some guitar playing. But anyway, we got John here, an amazing resource on microphones, and I'm assuming most of you guys really like miking up your amps. And the 121's sort of an expensive mic, and I was put off at first being ignorant, because I come from 57 world. And then,
as we all do.
Yeah, and then these little Sennheisers, like the 609, was sort of my favorite replacement for a 57. But as I went to these studios, I kept hearing things recorded on your ribbon mics. I went, oh,
yeah,
that's just dead sexy. It just sounds good. So what we'll do here is we'll kind of, when we play, I'll run through the mics that we have hooked up. And the 121 is what you're hearing 90% of when we're here. But also, you guys, please chime in with your questions here on the chat window. And for those of you that are watching the recording, there's a chat window here off to the side that you can't see. So I'll try to read out all the important questions so that when you watch the recording, you know what we're talking about. So anyway, John, tell us how Royer got started.
Well, there's a lot of different stories here.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Oh, yeah, I've got 20 for you to do.
Yeah.
You're going to have to come back more than once.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Glad to. We got started in 1998, and Dave Royer and I had a company before Royer started, and we were making condensers and pre's and compressors like everyone else. But Dave was always really interested in ribbons. I found in 96 an article where Eddie Kramer talked about every recording he had ever done of Hendrix had a ribbon in combination with the other mics, but there was a ribbon on the guitar amplifier.
Yeah, it was an M160, right?
It was an M160, a biodynamic M160.
Yeah, yeah.
And that just blew my mind because, it started to explain to me part of that warm, gushy thing that he used to get.
The fluidity of it. Now, not to interrupt you, but, it's funny because one of the questions that we'll probably get here, And then one of the questions that I had in my mind was, I've always understood that a ribbon can't take high SPL.
The old
you
ones,
guys somehow have figured that out.
Yeah, the old ones couldn't. The old ones would fly apart. If you put them really tight on a guitar amplifier, you'd start to stress them. They sounded really good.
Yeah.
And some engineers used to keep Coles 4038s and a stack of them, because you'd blow one after a couple of hours, line it back up, put the next one up, and it was worth it to get that sound.
There's a big industry in London for rebuilding those still.
Yeah.
I mean, when I lived there, there's 3 or 4 shops around Denmark Street where you can just buy a reconditioned 4038.
Yeah.
Same thing, because they just blow them up.
Yeah, you blow them up. If you treat them properly, on a guitar amplifier, you want to put it back about 2.5, 3 feet.
Yeah.
But they sound so good. They really sound great there.
Yeah.
But the 121, for those of you who aren't sure what they look like, here. This is the Royer R121 ribbon microphone.
Yeah. And this camera is pretty high def. Like let me grab that from you real quick. You can get it up here.
Nice.
It should focus on it pretty well. Not now, it's making me look bad. But anyway, I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean to take that away from you. But that's what we're playing out here, or a similar version of it, right?
Yeah, and I'm not really here to do like a product thing. Look at the 121. Buy today.
Exactly.
But what I'm really here to talk about with Dan is ribbons, because the ribbon microphone hears things more like the human ear than any other kind of microphone.
Right.
It's almost freakish. Like I used to be a session player, and I used to love standing in front of my amp, and I'm blowing my pant legs past me, and it's so great. You hit an A, and you could stand there all day. But then you go in the control room. It's
totally different.
I mean, I did some comparisons in control rooms where I had a great rig out there with a 57 on it, and I'd plug instead into a rat pedal and into an MXR compressor and go straight into the console and get a better sound. Because it's so hard sometimes to get the sound of that amp. And,
that's the Def Leppard sounds, a rat pedal into the board.
Was it really?
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. They did overdubs with a rat pedal just straight into the board.
That's a pretty cool sound, actually.
Yeah, that old Pyromania thing.
Yeah, little side tip here. Get a rat pedal, plug it into the board.
Now everyone's running down to True Tone Music. Like, give me one.
Yeah, give me one.
Hey, Frankie White's on in Toronto. Hey,
what up, Frankie White?
So somebody's asking here, San Diego JT, and also Pelham Blue in Atlanta, asking similar to what you're getting at. I think, would you recommend the 121 for live use?
Definitely. There are a lot of bands using 121s live. We also made a live version of the mic, which is essentially the same microphone, but it has a thicker ribbon. This has a 2.5 micron ribbon. And the way this ribbon is designed, you can tighten mic guitar amps and it'll stand up for years.
Yeah.
But the thicker ribbon in the 121 live stands up even better.
Sure, and also probably stands up to being transported.
It stands up a little better.
Like hot, cold, dry, wet, roadies dropping them on the ground.
Yeah.
Getting kicked over. Because, so this is funny, we'll go off on a little tangent here, but I met John for the first time. I was going to a Keith Urban sound check. And John...
Here's Dan.
Yeah, there it is.
With Keith's amps.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago, I think.
This is down at Staples Center.
Yeah, we're at Staples on stage.
Huge venue.
And you can see Keith's using a 121 there. Hey, thanks for bringing that picture. I didn't know
I'll show you, bet.
That's great. I'd like to get a copy of that.
Hey, here's Keith on stage. And if you see behind him, see that big line of amplifiers?
Yeah, it's
all 65s, man. Just a ton of them. That's on stage down at Staples playing live.
And those are all...
That's where we met, though.
Yeah, and I remember there was an ad you ran with one of these 212 cabinets like that with 2 121s on it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I started getting all these calls from people going, hey, man, nice ad in Mix Magazine or whatever. Like, I don't advertise in Mix. And like, oh,
yeah, until you get the bill, right?
No, but it was your ad.
Yeah.
It's a Royer ad. It was all these 65 logos. But you can see what Keith was doing here on this one, too. That's the same mic that I have out there.
Yeah. Show that one there.
Yeah, this is... there's a 121 on the 212, and then on the other cabinet is the Sennheiser ES14, which is the one that I have on top of here, just for a little bit of sparkle, for the little bit of the snappy sparkleness of a dynamic mic. But so anyway, I met John there, and it's like Royers everywhere, and the only live mix I've ever heard of our gear that sounded right was Keith's.
Yeah.
And
fantastic.
We went there, saw the show at Staples. His tech gave me the pack, and in his pack was his guitar, his vocal, and the snare drum, and that's it. Everything else was just ambient for him.
Yeah.
You want to make sure he had his groove, and you want to hear his guitar, and you want to hear his mic, and that was it. And I listened to that thing, and it was two 121s on that ES14, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the only time I ever listened to someone's mixing, oh, that actually sounds like the amp. You know, so from that moment on, I became in lustful pursuit of Royer mics.
Well, that's the whole idea with ribbons. I mean, the idea with the ribbon is it captures things the way they sound in the room. So if you got an amp that you just love and you want to get that sound, a good ribbon will get you there. And a 121, you can put it in front of the amp and it'll stand up. AEA makes good ribbon mics too. They have a more classic approach and we have a more modern approach. But they're the two ribbon lines that I really like, AA and Royer. And depending on your taste, they're both going to get you into that ribbon land. But the 121 can take more of a beating. And the live version is killer on the road.
What's the name of the live version? Is it the 121?
121L.
L. Oh,
Real
for live.
Real
That's
complicated.
cryptic, yeah.
Isn't it though?
It's very, yeah.
But even before we went to the live versions, like Aerosmith had been using these ever since Just Push Play.
Oh, really?
They've been using the standard versions on the road.
Wow.
Joe Perry's got them all across his amps. Yeah. And you can see photos of that and all of this stuff I'm talking about on our website if you want to take a look, royerlabs.com. There's a lot of photos up there of different guys' rigs and videos of different things. Yeah, you'll see Keith Urban's rig up there again.
Well, also, I mean, to answer the questions, like I've seen a lot of live shows where people are using 121s. Now it's way more common than it was 5-6 years ago. I think people are starting to think, okay, maybe they're not so precious studio mics. You know, that they're actually rugged road mics.
Well, you know, when we did the live version, then people started thinking, okay, you can take it on the road, but you can take the studio version on the road just about as easily. I mean, I've set these up on guys' amps. I set one of these up on Santana's amp down at.
But it wasn't Carlos, right? It was his brother Murray.
No, it was Carlos. Murray Santana.
Sorry, I couldn't.
But then you can throw this in the back pocket afterward until you get back over to your mic box.
Yeah.
They can stand up to it. But when the live version came out and we started advertising the live version, then people felt more comfortable.
Sure.
So now it's kind of hit more lives versions are on the road, but the bands that know will take the standards too.
But I see bands, you know, on Sunset at the House of Blues.
Yeah.
Using this, you know, and you know that's like the roughest, toughest, dirtiest room in town.
I know.
With the most beat up, worn out PA system.
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw and go.
And the stage is soaked with beer, piss, and sweat.
Yeah.
You know, but yet there's really nice ribbon mics up there.
You do have to watch it, even with these, even as tough as they are. You know, if a guy knocks this thing down and oops, you know, and then throws it. We did have a band, a fairly popular band who will remain unnamed, but they had a guy who was taking the mics and just throwing them all in a drawer. And so they're rolling around with the 57s and other stuff, and they blew the ribbons. You know, you still have to treat them like, you know, the mics that they are. It's kind of like your amps. You wouldn't want somebody taking a great 65 and throw it in the back of the truck.
Right.
You put it in the case right, you take good care of it, but then you can beat it.
Yeah, we use ours in a shock mount. You know, the one that you lent us has the big, you know, beautiful shock mount on it.
Yeah.
Which we ought to take a picture. Sometime. And Butch Walker, that's right. Butch Walker is here in town, using 65s. But yeah, you got some other configurations that people.
Well, here's a
here?
picture of the shock mount. That's the mic in the shock. Basically, the way we have it in the back.
We got lo-fi props today. You can see the shock mount. This is what comes with the mic.
That is George Thorogood's rig. That's his live rig.
Oh, right.
And then he just brings it into the studio, but that's a closed cabinet. They just throw the mic in there and.
There's a little ISO box.
Yeah, a little ISO box. Sounds great, man. But it sounds so good, he just brought it in the studio.
Why not?
And then this is one other, speaking of combinations, Ross Hogarth is a brilliant recording engineer, and he'll mix the mics like that. He puts the ribbon up the center, and he puts a 57 and a 421 to the two sides, and then blends them to taste. And says usually he leans heavy on the ribbon.
Yeah.
But,
I tend to use everything else just for a little bit of layer on top. You know, like 80% of the sound is the 121, and then you just add a little flavor.
Yeah, you can
a little spice on it. You know, that's about it.
One other cool little combo. This is Brian Setzer's rig.
Oh, right on.
That's his live rig.
That's a 121, and what is this? A Neumann?
I'm not sure what that is. He switched that out with the Mojave Audio now.
Oh, okay.
Mojave's our sister company.
Oh, right. Setzer with the Korg, what is that called? Not Korg.
The Roland Space Echo.
Space Echo, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I've got one of these. It's the best.
It's very modern for someone like Setzer.
I know.
You think you'd have an Echoplex, right? Yeah, very cool.
And then you take a guy like Michael Wagner, and he's using 121s, you know, very, very close Doesn't have to blend other mics. You can blend or not blend. It's up to you. A lot of guys do like to blend. But the thing, guys, is 65 makes such great amps, and
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I love the sound of these things, man.
Thank you.
I love them. And you're standing in front of it, and you get that sound, and you've got.
Yeah, you want it to kind of come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to get that sound, a 121 or an AAR, 92 or 84, I think. You put those up,
right,
and you'll get very close. I mean, it just takes a few moves, and you can go in the control room and you feel like you're in front of your amp. I mean, like get that same almost experience of like the wind and that power.
Oh yeah.
It's so cool.
Well, it's very fun. That kind of rig right there is what I see a lot of guys in home studios doing. Particularly, I was at Lyle Workman's studio a few weeks ago, I think.
Great player.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy. Yeah, his son and my daughter are like betrothed or something. They're the most in-love kids I've ever seen in my life. And the good news is that it means I get to be friends with Lyle Workman, who I've idolized for years. He's just a superb guy and a ridiculous guitar player. And Lyle, if you're on, hi.
Yo, Lyle.
But anyway, Lyle has two 121s. He's got a 412 that he just parks on the side of his studio.
Yeah.
One's throated, one's out on the edge of the speaker, and doesn't matter what amp, he just routes it right into that rig. And if you ever heard Lyle's stuff, his guitar sounds are just stupid. What's his record? Harmonic Crusader. If you can find that out there, it's just silly. And that's almost all done on 121s. I mean, exclusively.
Yeah, it is.
And Lyle and Greg Wells were the people that both gave me the quote I told you about that you weren't familiar with. They said, Jeff Beck says that the Royer 121 is the best guitar mic ever.
Excuse me.
Yeah. And and they both said, well, I'm not going to argue with Jeff Beck.
No, man.
It's like, if Beck says it's the best mic in the world, then it's the best mic in the world.
Yeah. If Beck says anything, I'm listening. I mean,
if Beck says, wear your underwear on the outside of your pants. Okay.
They're on the outside.
That's no problem.
Yeah.
That's no problem at all. Well, let's play a little guitar for a minute, because I know there's a lot of people that wanted to hear this. And I'll see if we can isolate the mics that we have here so you can get a little bit of an idea of what's going on. I have the Empire up here right now. You can't really see it because we're trying to make this little camera. Let me see if I can get a little wider angle on this, just to get more stuff in.
Let me get some things out of the way here. Maybe you can see it.
Oh, good question here. Eric Admundson, who is he's a professor in Bergen, Norway, and one of our customers.
That's a good question. The question is, how would you compare the 101, which is our newest ribbon mic, to the 121? Let me just do you a quick. This is the way the 101 comes. It comes in a carrying case with a shock mount, and this is the microphone. Obviously, right off the bat, it's bigger. There it is compared to the 121.
Let me hold that up a little closer.
Yeah.
No, you can't quite reach. You can get a little better idea.
There you go. So there's like the 101 compared to the 121. Sonically, they're really in the same ballpark. The 101, any figure of 8 mic, but particularly a good ribbon, has a strong proximity effect, meaning the closer you get to a sound source, like a guitar amplifier, the bigger the low end. Until when you're in like 6 inches and closer, you're building up an artificially large low end, which can be kind of cool. But the 121 has a lot of proximity effect, which if you don't want, you can just roll off the lows.
Oh yeah, I've also noticed with that, if you stay in the center of the speaker, it doesn't get out of hand.
It doesn't, because
but
it's up right there.
1 or 2 inches out of the throat, then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, you've got huge low end.
Right, yeah.
Which you can easily roll off. Yeah.
I mean, if you're making a drop tuning record and you want to sound like, the voice of Thor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Quack, 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 quack.
Then you can do it.
But the 101 actually has less proximity effect, so it's almost easier to throw that up and not be overwhelmed by low end. The 121 has like an upper mid-range bump too, between 1 and 5K, about a dB and a half, and it gives it a little personality. It's like a little forward thing, whereas the 101 is flat in that region. So sonically a little different. What you can do if you'd like is you can go to our website, and on the 101 page, go to the bottom, and there's a lot of comparisons. We did these at Joe Barisi's. We mic'd up some cabinets
cool.
with a 121 and a 101.
And I know his live room has like 18 cabinets hardwired in there.
Yeah, man.
He's got every cool 412 ever made since 1966.
Yeah, he does. It's great.
Yeah, Wims and Voxes and Marshalls and Parks and Fenders and Ampegs and every cool 412 ever.
Yeah, Joe's room is just, it's incredible.
He's Mr. Guitar.
It's Toys R Us for us guys, man. It really is. It's totally Toys R Us.
It's embarrassing when I go over there to visit because I end up just going, oh, can I go play with you? No, I'm sorry. I lose my mind.
Now, the cool thing about Joe is he's like, he's into it more than anybody.
He'll nerd out with anybody. Yeah. But you always feel bad. Like, he's got a band in there waiting, and you're like, hey, what's this in the speaker?
Yeah, but he'll go for it, man. He's just such a great guy.
Yeah.
So the difference is a little less proximity effect, a little bit more of a flat response. I kind of think the 121 sounds a little more maybe hi-fi. It's got a little more something, but the 121 is so in the ballpark, and you can hear it. We didn't just do guitar recordings. We've got like clean guitars, dirty guitars, some solos, but we also have like percussion and horn and acoustic guitars, so you can hear the difference, which is probably the best way to do it. And these are decent recordings. I mean, these are well recorded, so you can really make that distinction for yourself.
And I'm seeing these live as well. Like, we hired Mike Campbell to play at our NAMM party. Mike and the Dirty Knobs. Yeah. It's his band, and they don't do any petty stuff at all. But he's playing like, a late 50s Princeton and early 60s Deluxe. That's his rig, and he and Jason Sine, his other guitar player, had like the exact same rig, and they were all using 101s.
Were they?
Yeah, they sounded fantastic.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can probably get you some pictures from our NAMM party.
Oh, that'd be killer, man. Thanks.
It was right before you gave me that one to try. I was like, I saw that big black Royer up there, because they played some of our stuff for the party, just because it was our party. But, so if anybody here in LA who's been out, walking around and seen the Dirty Knobs play, they play in Sherman Oaks and
that'd be a great band to go see.
Oh, they're fantastic. They play at Cozy's all the time, on
nice.
Ventura Boulevard. It's a little blues bar that's about 5 times as big as this office.
Then they must be having so much fun.
They just rock. The two bands that play there that are great are, for all you LA guys, the Dirty Knobs play there, and that's Mike Campbell and, a bunch of really hot studio guys here in town. And then the other band is Jimmy Vivino's band, the guy that's the band leader on Conan.
Oh.
He's sick.
Yeah, I know.
And he'll just do 4 hours without a break. It's just incredible.
Hey, one other difference between the two mics. The 121 retail is $13.95, and the 101 retail is $9.85.
Oh, right.
So you're talking $8.95. Okay. So it's $500 difference. Hey, I saw a question there.
We got 2 good questions here. When you designed the 121, was it intentionally for electric guitar, or was that a fortunate accident?
That's a great question. Dave Royer is a classical buff, big time classical buff. And the 121, you know what the design criteria was? This is verbatim.
I know Dave too, so this is going to be a great story.
Yeah, the design criteria was it had to faithfully reproduce every note of a pipe organ.
Wow.
Because Dave's a classical buff. It's like
that's kind of a high hurdle, though. Those are difficult instruments.
That's the great thing about Royer. Dave is like when you're designing a mic, and if it doesn't sound right on a cello, or if you put it on a full orchestra and the violins are slewing or something that I'd never hear, is going on, he's going to hear it and he goes back to the drawing board, and things take a long time because of that.
Sure, that attention to detail is between
amazing. Dave and Rick Parada, it's like perfection there. But that was the original design criteria. The thing is, the mics are built really tough, and it was a fortunate accident that. Any ribbon is going to sound pretty good on an electric guitar. Yeah. But a smaller, sleeker ribbon that can take a ton of SPL.
Yeah, we always think a ribbon mic being this big.
Yeah, big and fragile and really heavy, like 6 pounds and stuff.
Don't breathe on them, or you'll distend the ribbon.
Yeah. So the electric guitar thing was kind of a happy accident. The other great accident was the timing, because when we came out, all these digital audio workstations were just getting started, and the early A to D converters just weren't that great, and a condenser microphone
signal. Still pretty bad now.
Yeah, I know a lot of them. They're great. Yeah. But the signal of a lot of microphones contains self-distortion artifacts and frequency anomalies and all sorts of things that's okay hitting tape. Right. Tape's going to help soothe that. Yeah. You shove those into an A to D converter, and they're trying to make sense of all this crap and go, Wah! Right, and you end up producing a lot of noise.
The A to D converter can't really it's limited on the decisions it can make with digital input.
Exactly.
So if it doesn't meet this, then we're just going to shove it into this time slice or this frequency range, or drop it altogether.
Right, and things get really wonky.
Yeah.
A ribbon signal is so simple, you would not believe it. It's a very pure signal, and a lot of the guys in our early days, which really helped us, were saying that they felt like when they plugged the 121 in, or our SF12 stereo mic, they felt like they were recording to tape again.
Oh, nice.
They felt like they were back in an analog
Warmed
world.
it back up, yeah.
Yeah, it's because the frequency response is very consistent, and there are really no self-distortion artifacts in the microphone.
Right.
You know, or very, very few. I mean, the beauty of a mic like a U47 is there's some freakish stuff going on in there that sounds so good. But you shove that into an A to D converter and things start getting funny. A ribbon is just...
It gets, what's the word I'm looking for? It gets
your harmonics get messed up.
compartmentalized. You know, like there's only this much data that can flow in this much time and this much dynamic range. So if it doesn't meet that criteria, it gets arbitrarily stuck into another little slice.
Yeah.
And it just like when you're listening to a CD versus an album. You know, like you listen to a vinyl, you know, album, the timing's more relaxed.
It is.
Because it's not put into these digital sort of boxes, you know, like, and if you have, even with 128-bit sampling or 256-bit sampling, it's still taking things that are outside. If it's not inside the specific time clock, it just moves it to the closest one. So when you listen, you know, the same thing happens. Not to go crazy nerd.
Yeah.
Let's see, that was Madison 56 from Smyrna, Georgia. Hey, my wife's from Smyrna, Georgia.
Hey, I saw something up there about the ISO cab.
Yeah, Doug Guillaume, who's one of our customers. Hey, Doug.
Hold up with the guitar cab and an ISO box. Here, check this out. We were showing this before. This is George Thorogood's rig. It's an ISO box. It sounded good enough that this is what he brought into the studio too. He just tracked like that. But that's it holds up great in an ISO box. Just has to be in a shock so when the box gets kicked around, the mic doesn't take too much jawing.
Right.
And you also have to be sure that because the microphone here is out of the front side and the back side, you have to be sure you've got good padding in the back so you don't get reflections off the back. You
get some phasing issues with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I need to do out there. We're out in our hot rooms. I mean, I've got it on. So let me just cut off everything except for the 121 and the room mic. And you guys can hear what we're doing here. This is going to squeal for a second when I get close to my headset. Whee! There we go. Was that you making that noise? So I'm on channel 1 of the Empire right now, and this is just the 121. And I'm on, it's not the super clean, but it's, you know, kind of clean. See, the signal's a little hot here. You just pull it back a little bit. So in my headphones, it sounds sweet. You probably can't hear much, but
I can hear it through the wall. It sounds sweet through the wall.
How's that working out there? Are you guys hearing like some digital distortion? There's about a 15-second delay here, so.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah, we'll ask questions and then people.
It'll take a little while. No problem.
But Eric Adamson's asking, are most or all ribbon mics figure 8?
Good question. Ribbons by nature are figure 8 because you have a ribbon element that's suspended. It's a physical piece of aluminum that's corrugated.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to show you one.
Yeah, you got one here you can pull out, right?
Yeah. Let me show you the guts of this thing. But yeah, they're figure 8 unless you physically or electronically alter it, and you can make them cardioid. You can make them omni. They are omni at some very high frequencies, but by nature they're figure 8. Like a Bayer, I think an M160 is a cardioid mic because it takes 2 ribbon elements, one this way and one this way.
Right. Yeah, they're perpendicular, right?
Yeah. And so that physically they're creating a cardioid signal.
Yeah.
But you really pay for that in frequency response. If you want a ribbon to sound most ribbon-esque, it's in figure 8. RCA did a great ribbon microphone that you could switch to cardioid. And it was physically baffling the back of the microphone.
Wow.
In a very exotic way that worked.
Let's see. Now, just for fun here. So now what I've got up here. I've got the 122V.
Yeah.
So just real quick, can you explain a little difference on what's going on between the 121 and the 122V?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A 121 is, like almost all ribbon mics, it's a passive device. Meaning you've got your ribbon element, you have a transformer, and it comes out and you have to amplify that signal. Whereas condenser microphones have head amplifiers, and it brings the level up a lot hotter. So the 122V actually has a tube.
I think your mic's...
Yeah.
Okay.
Think we're okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was getting some weird noise in the headphones. Sorry.
Thanks. So the 122V has a tube head amplifier built in. It's the world's first tube ribbon mic, and it brings your level up by about 15 dB.
Right. Yeah, I know when we were doing sound check here, it was so hot, I had to degain my preamp all the way down.
Yeah, you had to bring it.
It's like, you know, I was running the preamp gain on here at about 30 on a scale of 70, and now I have it on 15 with the output knocked down by a third. You know,
Got it.
So not only the gain, but the output of the preamp too. It's hot and sweet.
Yeah, it's a great mic. I love that mic. It's kind of like you take a 121, more level, opens up the highs a little bit, and then with the V, for some reason, the only way I can explain it is like you sprinkle some fairy dust on it. It's like there's just something that happens. I was on a mix session with Eddie Kramer once.
Get where I'm just down to that mic. I'll just play a little bit behind you while you're doing that. So
Thanks.
we're on the 122V right now.
I was going to say that Eddie there was one guitar that was just standing out so much, sounding so great. And it turns out he had the V on that particular guitar.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's like, you could really hear the difference.
That middle position Les Paul thing, you know, the sort of Freddie King.
Yeah.
You know, like it takes a real mic to pick up that bubbly, sparkly thing that a middle position Les Paul does.
Yeah. You know, you guys, I have to say it's really cool of Dan to be talking today about miking, because it's so important if you got a great rig, you want to record it. You just, you know, or you want to play live, and miking is what gets you there. The microphone is the translation between your amplifier and whatever device you're using to record.
You know, that was a lesson that was really hard for me to learn when I was a young guy playing music for a living.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, I had great amps. You've seen my old Marshalls out there.
Yeah,
you know,
incredible, man.
I had this fun rig, you know, I had Marshall 50 watt and an Echoplex and a Rat pedal, and I was just the happiest kid in the world. And everybody would come up to me, go, "Man, your tone's incredible. What are you doing?" You know, and I'm like, I just plug into that amp, you know, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then I'd listen to mixes and board tapes and stuff that I did with just average mics, run-of-the-mill mics, and I'm like, that's just nothing compared to what's really going on stage. And I talked myself out of spending money on microphones, thinking, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And then you go into a studio and people with these big, giant, nice mics on, and you go, oh yeah, that sounds like my rig.
Yeah.
And so while it is kind of convenient to buy a $100 microphone that you don't mind if you drop it or get it wet because you can replace it, it doesn't make any sense when you have a good guitar and a good rig. You know, because I have this guitar that I've had sort of custom made here, and it's, to me, a really fun sounding Les Paul.
That's a great sounding guitar.
And I've got good guitars. You know, like on my broadcast, I got my 59 Junior there that I play, and I got an Esquire that, you know, Master Builders over at Fender made. It was Stephen Bruton's guitar, and they all have really nice sounds. But it's all a waste of time if you don't have a good mic on your rig.
If you want to play in your room or play live, and you know, in a club where the miking doesn't matter so much, great. But if you're into recording at all, or you need to reproduce that sound, you've got to get a good mic. And a ribbon gets you there more than anything for guitar and brass and a lot of other instruments. Oh yeah, well, that's one of the things I meant by bringing up the House of Blues thing, is that, you know, that PA sounds like ass. I mean, it's just blown up. Yeah.
You know, it's the most beat up, tired PA system because every road band comes through and they just crank the daylights out of it. But you can tell when someone has good mics, even on that PA system.
Oh, you can really tell.
Yeah.
You can really tell. It's like, oh, it sounds real.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And there's a lot of clubs here in town, like the bass player in my band, Rick, works at this place called the Redwood. And, it's like a punk bar. And, the bands bring in their own mics. And if they've got 57s, it sounds pretty poopy. But when guys bring in nice mics, it's like, they sound a lot better, even on a cheap little PA system. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really worthy investment, is my point. Like it's almost crucial. Why would you buy a $3,000 head and then mic it through a $90 mic?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, I bought a Ferrari, but I'm going to get some cheap tires over at Walmart. No, you're going to slide off the road. All right, good. So I didn't mean to derail you there. So Martin in Norway is asking, what is the correct preamp impedance for a 121-101 versus a 122? And what is your favorite preamp for those mics? Good question.
Ribbon microphones like to see 5 times their impedance. So like a 121 and a 122, these are 300 ohms. It's like, so this microphone would like to see 1500 ohms.
Because I have it right now on 1200.
Yeah, and 1200 is really fine.
Yeah.
I mean, 1200, even 1000, you're not going to notice a lot of difference. You get down to 400 or 500 ohms, that mic is going to sound like you're going to really start getting narrow.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is like the Chandler TG2 has a setting on that where you can set it for 300 ohms.
Right.
Complete mismatch with this microphone to set it for 300 ohms, but it physically seizes the ribbon up. You can stick this thing very close to a speaker cabinet and you've killed all the proximity effect.
Oh my God.
And it's a great sound. Like Michael Wagner is a dynamite rock engineer. Listen to the last King's X record. You'll even hear some King's X tracks on our website. You can go to the demo CD section and go to this Inside the Mix, and you'll hear a mix of King's X and then just the guitars by themselves with just these mics.
Wow.
And he's got his Chandler TG2 set for 300 ohms. This thing stuck right in the guitar cab.
Wow.
Right in the here, I'll show you a shot of that. And it's a great sound. So you can mess around with the impedance. With the 122, that needs to see the high impedance or it'll start to give you some self-distortion. Like Keith Urban was using 122s on the road and they found some distortion in their signal. So they made sure that they upped the input impedance of the pre's a bit. And then they also made sure that they had the 48 volt phantom power supply, a dedicated power supply, because if those mics don't see a great power supply.
Well, that's the thing you got to talk about. Is I noticed you brought your power supply with it, probably for the reason that it won't starve, right?
That one's the 122V.
Right. Oh, that's
the
right.
tube which has to have its own power supply.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm ignorant.
So look, it's 1500 ohms and above is great. With the non-powered mic, you can start dialing that back if you want to and get some really cool different sounds. With the 122, I would not suggest that. It's just going to make it sound kind of
Yeah. I'm hearing some weird. Are we getting some rumbling distortion out there, guys? Or is it just our mics? I'm hearing it on these headphones sitting on the desk. Well,
hey,
that's very fun. Guitar Jake, hey, how are you, buddy?
There's that picture of the mics very tight on the guitar cabs, which would sound a little too big if the impedance was perfect, but dialing the impedance back dials out some of the low end. Very cool. It's like a free EQing.
Oh, nice. Goofy 65 says, there is some rubbing, or Madison. Yeah, I think one of our mics is rubbing on something. It might be yours on the shirt. I was hearing this little...
Oh, you think? Yeah, it might be me. Oh, probably
could be.
Is.
Yeah, we don't have a real lavalier. I had to put them on with a paper clip. Yeah.
How's that? Well, you know what? I kind of do this.
Okay. Yeah, just kind of do the Napoleon thing.
Yeah, for the whole thing.
What is important to know about speaker cables for your amps? How much money is reasonable to invest in a cable? Oh, yeah, a little... it's kind of a subjective thing, to be honest with you. I think it's worth buying. I look for two things in a cable. I spend a little money on speaker cables, but not crazy. Colossal cables, are the ones that I recommend for instruments and for speakers. There's no comparison. They're fantastic. For two reasons, one of which is they're completely transparent. And a lot of guys will sell you cables based on the fact that, oh, it does this to the mid-range, or it does that to the top end, or it whatever. I don't want any of that stuff. I want transparency. I have a good guitar and I have a good amp. I don't want anything colored by a cable. And you can get transparent without it being sterile and clinical. But what was I going to say? You don't have to go crazy. But you also need to be rugged. You know, like cables that are on their last leg sound bad, even though they still work. So, hope that answers your question. Guitar Jake is asking, I might have missed it. So do ribbon mics need a preamp to work? I think I know the answer, but I'll let you go for that.
Well, the answer to that is yes. Every microphone needs a preamp. You can plug it right into your board and use the board pre's or like some other kind of small pre, but the better the pre, a pre completes a microphone. So you really want to mate a good microphone to a good pre, and you can mate that mic to any number of different pre's and get it. You know, if you made a good ribbon to a Millennia pre, you see that in the classical world a lot. A Millennia or a Grace pre is so clean and really like straight wire with gain and beautiful sound. Whereas like a Neve or an API or something that starts giving you different colors. Here. We're going, what are we going? Yeah, API.
Well, these are all, the nice 121 is going through a BAE 1028, which is basically a 1073 preamp, but he's got a 48 shelf EQ on here. It's crazy. Nice. The EQ's out. I don't have it on. Like I turn it on, we can change all kinds of weird things, you know. I'll just twist this for fun.
Yeah, like what the hell are you doing?
Right, yeah. But I don't have it on. This is off, so. And then the 122 is going through this Avitas MA5, which Avitas is the head designer for Mark over at BAE.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
He has his own, it's a lunchbox preamp. And this is the one I've got the gain down, and it's got a 28K filter on the top, which is on. And I have it out of phase, which is interesting. Let me play with this for a second. This is what the 122 is on.
Yeah, that one should probably be in phase.
Yeah, and that might be part of the issue that I was having. Let's do that. Oh. And then we'll do that with the 121. It's hot. Oh yeah, we were messing up, John. I'm sorry.
Well, with that out of phase? Hearing it right now?
This sounds great. At least let's see the headphones.
How's that sound out there, guys?
Is it too hot? I mean, tonally, it sounds really good.
Cool. Sounds wicked. So
in this middle position, I just have to go. Anyway, sorry, it does that.
Yeah, playing the Stones always brings like instant cool into a room.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting a little bit of distortion in the headphones. I don't know if it's coming through out there or not. Oh yeah, that's way too hot. Hang on a sec.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at that, I'm killing it, I'm pegging it. Yeah, I got this way too hot, guys. Hang on a second. I had a problem. I had accidentally ran the 122 out of phase.
Not a big thing.
I know.
Not a big thing. So there's another question here. I just noticed, so you don't recommend using the board pre? Some board pre's are great, and you can go right into a lot of boards and get a pretty good sound. But when you bring a very good mic pre into the mix, it changes things, and you can really change the character of the overall sound by the pre that you're using. So I suggest some experimenting if you can. I've recorded plenty just going into the board like at home, but if I'm doing something more meaty and I really want to get a great sound, I'm always hitting a good pre.
You know, as part of his question there is how to tell if you're in phase or out of phase. I assume there's some technical ways of, reading waves in Pro Tools and seeing exactly what's going on, but a lot of it is intuitive. Like I hit the phase button on these preamps until I like the way it sounds. And a lot of times, like our cabinets are wired in series, so the speakers go forward and backward at the same time. Mm-hmm. But if you have a cabinet like a 412 that's wired in series parallel, at any given moment, one speaker is going backwards while the other one's going forwards. And if you have a 212 cabinet that's wired in parallel, so if you have a 212 cabinet that's like 4 or 8 ohms, more than likely that's in parallel. So those speakers are not moving together, they're moving opposite each other. So if you put 2 mics on there, one of them is going to be out of phase. And so you have to flip the phase on that mic. And a lot of guys don't realize that. They go, I just stick a couple of mics on there and it's great. And I don't need to switch the phase because it's just 1 mic per cabinet. Well, if the cabinet's wired in parallel, those speakers are actually not moving at the same time.
I'm honestly not hip to that, and I should probably, before I start to pontificate, any thoughts? I should probably talk to a couple of the guys at the shop.
Yeah, well,
and a couple of engineers who for their thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, the point is, like, to answer the question, whose guitar jakes, you can just hit the phase button until you like it, which I need to do here, obviously, but my fault. Well, they're not technically out of phase to your ears. They're out of phase to 2 microphones that are in the same place. I mean, they're not technically out of phase. They're working, but they're working opposite each other. Yeah,
phase is an interesting thing. You can get into all kinds. That conversation can go to so far down a rabbit hole.
Right.
But it means a lot to a lot of people. And if something's out of phase in a recording, you really hear it. That starts to mess with things.
Yeah, it's usually pretty obvious.
Yeah. So it's best as much as possible to be tracking in phase. And with the ribbon, the front side, it would be your forward polarity, the back side would be your reverse polarity side.
Right.
So if you switch that, like the 121's a little brighter on the back side. So I suggest.
Is it really?
Yeah. Okay. You don't use that for high SPL sounds like guitar cabs.
Right.
But for acoustic guitars and vocals, I like to track on the back side. And then you flip the phase on the pre to make the back side the forward polarity side. And you hit that. Like on an acoustic guitar, I always use the back side.
Right.
Of our mics. It doesn't work that way with every ribbon mic. It's
sure.
Part of the design of this microphone. The ribbon element is closer to the front than to the back, and it changes the way that it responds just slightly.
Right.
On the back side, which is pretty cool.
So Martin is mentioning the sort of obvious thing that we left out. When you have things out of phase, they tend to cancel. There's the illusion in your ears that some frequencies are gone.
Yes.
Because they're canceled, and it'll sound anemic. Yeah. And sometimes it's cool, like Peter Green had his Les Paul wired out of phase to get that weird sound.
Yeah.
But it's not something most people don't intentionally go for that. Yeah.
No.
It's very unusual. Are there any methods, rules, tricks to make sure you are in phase? I don't know.
Why don't we hit that another time? Because I know some engineers who do that religiously.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do some research on. I mean, I've always just sort of done it, when it's in phase, it sounds bigger. Like you just move things back and forth until it sounds bigger. And there's also some math that I'm not clear on as far as mic placement goes. Like it's a 3-to-1 ratio. Like if mic number 1 is 1 foot away from the cabinet, mic number 2 needs to be 3 feet further back for it to be in phase, depending on the 12-inch speaker versus, there's some engineering to where every certain distance back away from the cabinet, there's a phase shift. And I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Because I've talked to all these propeller head guys, and I just go, you know what, I'm a guitar player, so you're killing me right now.
Michael Wagner gave me kind of a cool trick for that. He puts 2 mics on a guitar cab, and he flips one out of phase.
Right.
And then he moves those mics until the sound has almost disappeared. When the mics are lined up perfectly,
right,
and they're canceling each other
completely.
Yeah, you're almost completely gone, and then you flip the phase of that second mic, and wham!
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah,
that's an interesting trick. Maybe we need to do that.
Yeah, we should try that out.
Yeah, well, we'll have to come back for more experiments. Here you go. Martin is bringing up some obvious stuff we left out too. Put similar 2 mics in the same distance from the speaker and flip the phase, and it gets really lower in sound. It's exactly
what we were just talking about.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. and can read about standing notes. See, Rick 007 here, James Bond Rick, probably has the engineering smart guy explanation for this. I've always just kind of done it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just kind of do it.
That just sounds better. Okay, do that. I don't care what the board says or anything. It's just like, oh, that sounds bigger.
So do you want to?
Yeah, what do you have here?
I want to show you something. Just most people don't get a chance to see this, but I brought a ribbon. I brought the guts of the 121.
Nice. Now this is the thing. I was under the illusion too when I first learned about microphones 25 years ago, that a ribbon mic had a piece of fabric in it.
A piece of fabric.
It's a ribbon, like you tie your hair up with.
Yeah.
You put on your poodle. Not me, I don't do that. I have border collies. But
well, here, check this out.
it's explain to us, for the layman, what is a ribbon element?
A ribbon element is a thin piece of aluminum, corrugated aluminum, that's hung in between in a magnetic field.
Wow.
And what happens is as a non-magnetic material moves in a magnetic field, it generates electricity.
Mm-hmm.
It generates a signal.
That field, right? Just
exactly.
like a pickup.
Exactly.
I vibrate a string over a metal wound magnet, and it disturbs its magnetic field.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, these are a lot like a guitar pickup. You can put a 121 in a room, and if there's a sound in the room, like a transformer, just like an electric guitar in single coil, wah, and you turn around, it's gone.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can hear electrical noise in studios with ribbons.
Hold that up to the camera?
Yeah.
The ribbon?
Tell you what, you see the ears on that microphone? That's what's actually shoved down in there. You've got a cylindrical body.
Oh, cool.
This is wider, and it's stuffed down inside there. And
I think if you get really close there, it'll focus on it pretty well.
There is...
Yeah, there we go.
The ribbon element inside the 121. Usually you have screens on the two sides of the element to create an air pocket and restrict its movement, but I wanted to leave this one open for you guys to take a look at. You see the waviness of the ribbon? That's accomplished by running the ribbon element through gears.
Wow.
If the ribbon were just straight,
I love that.
It really wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah.
But by corrugating it, you make it like a slinky, so it's elastic.
It's got some flex in it, yeah.
Exactly.
So Madison56 is asking, does Royer still offer one free ribbon replacement warranty with all their mics, as they did with the original 121?
Yep.
Oh, right on. That's very generous.
Yeah, so if you blow your ribbon, and especially in our early days, everybody was so concerned about the fragile ribbon thing.
Yeah.
We're like, nah, they're tough. Look, if you blow it the first time, it's on us. So, and we still do that.
Oh, that's great.
13 years later.
13 years. You probably don't have to replace very many of them, do you?
No.
Yeah.
No, really, we don't.
I mean, because I've just beaten the daylights out of the one you've lent us, and the one that I see guys doing the 160 watt death metal amps.
Yeah.
Just cranking. I won't say names, Joe Barisi, because that would be rude. But I've been over to Joe's where he's just blasting, And it's like, that's no problem.
Put it up. Well,
his live room is a nuclear zone, man.
It is. It sounds incredible.
Yeah, it's so freaking loud.
But you can blow a ribbon. Look, you can put this on a 100-watt Marshall, open it wide, leave it there all day.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool. But you give it to a 2-year-old, it goes, I chew.
Right.
It blows air into it.
Sure.
You're going to blow it. I mean, because air is, with every ribbon, wind is the enemy.
Right. Oh, okay.
So you can't hit it with a lot of wind.
I guess that's probably part of the consideration with your 121L too, is that thicker ribbon will stand outdoor gigs.
It'll stand up more, but on any outdoor gig, you want to put a wind filter over it anyway, like even like a 57.
But you're talking about guitar players. I'm one of them, man.
Yeah.
We forget.
We forget these things.
And I was just watching that Hendrix in Hawaii thing where they didn't have any wind baffles for their microphones, so they just took like some foam out of a chair and just cut pieces and wrapped around. So he has this little vocal mic with this thing this big that he's singing into, this yellow like seat cushion foam.
It must have smelled kind of nasty.
Yeah, I know.
Foam stuff.
Yeah, it's like, but you can hear him singing. He's trying to get on the mic, and he can't. I don't think he can get any closer than that to it because there's so much foam.
Right. He's like, hey, Joe, where are you going?
Madison56 says, I still have the original ribbon in mine. I have to believe that to be the very first one purchased in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow. How long ago did you pick that up? Madison, you get that, we started in 98, late 98. So maybe you picked it up in 98, 99, Madison 12 years back,
12
huh?
years, yeah, that's an early one.
Killer.
And then Martin Gusland in Norway also. I Love Pale and Blue said juicy fruit wrappers. That's funny.
It might work. It just wouldn't sound very good. The thickness of this ribbon element is 2.5 microns.
Oh my gosh!
It takes something like what, 60 of these to equal the width of a hair.
Wow,
it's pretty amazing.
That's incredible.
They're so light that in the shop on a really windy day outside, when you get some static electricity build up,
right,
you can have a ribbon element that
float,
and then like hit the ceiling. And then later in the day, woo, when the wind's died down.
That's hilarious.
But it can literally just suspend there. It's like...
Just on the electricity in the air.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it used to happen in our old location.
Man, you need to call that little Ghost Chaser show over for that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. They just float.
They're just there. But check this out. Like, this is a 2.5 micron. The Coles 4038, it's a 0.6 micron. It's less than 1/4.
Well, no wonder you can blow that
thick.
thing so easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's thick, but,
I know, it's so thin. But that's the reason they can respond so well to transients and nuances.
Yeah, they're just delicate and articulate.
Super delicate. Whereas, like, a 57, you've got this mechanism.
Yeah, they're elements like, what, 2 inches thick? Or that's
You're
rude,
moving this
I'm
huge
sorry.
mechanism. They had their place. Man, I love a 57. But
yeah, I know. I kid.
Very
57.
different. Yeah.
But
we all grew up on it. We can't say too much about it.
Oh, yeah.
Hound dog and stuff. Yep.
Exactly. Now, Martin keeps asking us, and we've kind of missed it a couple times. What is your favorite preamp for a 121? I know you are a big fan of the Chandler, right? TG2.
For electric guitar, I love a TG2, man.
Yeah.
It's so good. But a great river is dynamite too. I just hear such great results with the TG2. There's definitely a sound to it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great sound.
Yeah, it really is.
It just makes your guitar big and bold.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. And I've heard so many great recordings.
Yeah.
With TG2s and electric guitars. It's a wonderful combo. You can always count on it. The Great River. I'm pulling a blank right now. There are some other really good pre's out there. Some of the Neves.
The Neves and the Neves copies, seem to be extremely popular. Like when I made my phone calls about microphones, everybody was mentioning your mic. Also, BAE, everybody seemed to really dig those.
Cool.
And I hadn't heard of them at all before. I mean, I knew about Neve 1073s, and this is an API 312 copy. And I learned API stuff in the 80s, when I went to Musicians Institute. And I went to MI in 86 and 87, and I took some recording stuff there, and it was all API gear that they had. And API's big punchy, it's the sort of AC/DC guitar sound.
Yeah.
Just like where's the guitar in the mix right there.
Yep, and a lot of guys use them. Sound great.
Whereas the Neve's a little more sort of elegant and smooth and
you're a little more forgiving.
Yeah, and the Chandler's a very bold sound, but sort of elegant at the same time. It's a nice mix. But yeah, there's a lot of preamps on the market these days that people seem to be
very
excited about.
I would go to some of the engineers that you really like, some of the, listen to records you like and find out who tracked them. And you can usually find online, their comments on what kind of mics and pre's they were using.
Right. What's that forum here in town? And it's all recording guys. I'm blanking on the name now. It's like Gear Sluts or something like that. I think it is.
ProSound Web or something? No, Gear Sluts is great for that too.
It's Gear Sluts, yeah. Because it's every engineer in LA goes on there after working all night in the studio. Man, I just did a thing with the Purple Audio MC whatever, and then this preamp and this mic, and it sounds great, and here's a sound clip. And I learn a lot on Gear Sluts. And it's SLUTZ, I think. Oh, I'm off.
Yeah, Gear Sluts, SLUTZ. Yeah. If you want to hear some different pre-combos, if you go to our website, we have a demo CD section, and there's one called Inside the Mix. And in Inside the Mix, there's tracks of like Brian Setzer and King's X and a lot of different kinds of stuff, a lot of different guitars, some Bruton stuff, some great Bruton stuff that Ross Hogarth recorded.
Sounds so good. Because that's, that Esquire right there was Stevens.
He said that, man.
After he passed away, he left it to Chris Fleming, who made it for him. Chris Fleming's the master builder at Fender.
Right.
And Chris and I became acquainted through Mercury Magnetics guys. And he brought this over one day just to test some amps because he wanted a couple of our amps. And I said, man, I'll give you my right leg for that Esquire. And he starts telling me the story.
Still has his leg. I guess he worked something else out.
Well, I ended up trading him for it, but he was like, I never really play it. I just sits in my house, and I go, that's Stephen Bruton's guitar, and he was a good friend of mine. He says, I know you're a fan of Stephen's, and I'm sure Stephen would have loved what you're doing here. Just as long as you promise me you'll never sell it. Then, we'll leave it here where I know it's going to be loved. And I play it every day.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fantastic guitar, but it might have been recorded on it's the one he played for the last few years of his life.
Oh, then it might have been, because I didn't list the guitars there, but I listed the whole signal chain, the mic, the pre, the compressor, the
You got to check
system.
it out. There's no truss rod in it.
Wow.
It's a 400-year-old piece of hard rock maple with an ancient piece of Brazilian rosewood on the slab. And it's cut so perfectly they didn't have to put a truss rod in it. And I was like, well, how long is this going to last? I think it's going to last longer than you do.
I know what we're going to be doing when this is done.
Yeah, your grandchildren might have to get it steamed, to get it straightened out. But it's going to last long. How old are you? I'm like 45. He goes, that's going to last way longer than you.
Wow.
But,
so what I was saying about the pre's is if you want to go to the website, you'll hear a lot of different pre's.
Yeah.
And mic combos and stuff.
A lot of this stuff too. Sorry for the phone. Guitar SRV. Hi, Dan. Well, hello. A lot of this stuff too is like food. It's just personal preference.
Totally.
I mean, I always make the thing like I love hot mustard on anything. I'll eat it on eggs. I'll eat it on ice cream. I just don't care. I'm salivating talking about
ice cream.
Not literally, but I love hot mustard, and a lot of guys don't. Yeah, so 1 minute. Sorry, I'm having fun listening to this through the speakers, but so it's kind of what you like.
It is. It totally comes down to taste.
I got the Chandler preamp in here, and I loved it. I thought it sounded absolutely fantastic, but it had such a unique sound to it that I thought it wouldn't be sort of honest for me to be selling amps using that.
Got it. So you wanted something that was really just more transparent.
Yeah, and what I have here is a little more literal. Cool. Like I'm trying to go for just sort of like if you were sitting in our shop playing guitar or in a music store, that's what it would sound like. Now, what I want to do for fun, and I'd love, maybe we can get Rick over here as well, but I'd love to just gear up one day. Like, here's a compressor, and I'm going to kick the EQ in, which I just totally mangled on this preamp, but this is a 48 shelf EQ, and let's EQ the daylights out of it, and let's play with some gain structures and get some weird distortion out of the preamp and like go studio nerd wonk.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
And then we can
do that.
We can do that with the mics as well and go like, okay, now I'm using the EQ, but watch what happens, and
when you back it off 2 inches.
John's going to move this around, and we'll have a camera on you, and then. Listen to how different this thing gets.
That'd be great.
Because I get, here's the question. You might get it too. We got a couple questions to answer here, but the question that I get on a regular basis are things along the lines of, what gear do you sell that will make me sound the most like Hendrix?
Oh, wow.
Like, well, there's a complex formula there. Well, he just played a Strat through a Marshall. Well, that's the truth, but not the whole truth.
Yeah.
He played a Strat through a Marshall, and it was mic'd up by Eddie Kramer or what's his name, Andy Johns.
Right, and he had some cool pedals and things.
And what board was he going through? Some of it was solid state board, some of it was tube boards. I think the board at Electric Ladyland was one of the first solid state boards around in New York. And what cable was he using? And where was it mastered? Was it mastered on metal tape or chrome tape? Or, there's so many variables there that you can't recreate, but you can't just match it, and you can't just duplicate the gear and sound like Hendrix. 51% of it is you have to be Hendrix.
Well, it's like Beck,
Yeah.
You've heard Beck play through so many different things, but he's always so Beck.
Right.
He
can
always
play anything. Like I saw him do a little rockabilly thing where he's playing through a Champ.
Yeah.
With an Echoplex. Sounds just like freaking Jeff Beck. Because I was just talking to the guys over at True Tone, right?
Yeah.
Junior there, the pedal guy.
Yeah.
Who's the pedal expert. Yeah. He was showing us how Beck uses 2 rat pedals. And it doesn't matter what amp he plays because it's all going to sound exactly the same. He's got 2 of the old rats with no lights on them.
Yeah.
And he uses one for like a clean booster and one for distortion.
Oh, cool.
And
I didn't know
so
that.
he uses them independently or simultaneously to get all of his tones. And so he just backlines amps wherever he goes. It's just like, just give me a couple of Marshalls.
Wow.
And, all that sort of thing. But that's one of those things because it's Jeff Beck. Like if I do that, give me a Beck Strat and 2 rat pedals and a good 50-watt Marshall, I ain't gonna sound like Jeff Beck.
No, it's like that Ted Nugent story when Ted grabbed Eddie Van Halen's guitar. He's like, hey, wait, this is just clean.
Right, yeah.
Put it in Eddie's hands, and wow!
Yeah, you got to be the guy. But one of the things we could do for fun, I think, would be to sort of play around with gear and like, well, you can't imitate Hendrix, but we can sort of duplicate some of that behavior.
Yeah.
You know,
that could be cool.
It'd be very interesting, I think. Let's see. What is this? Do you sell Hendrix fingers? Yes, I have them. If you write me a check. I don't have a Gretsch here today. I have Chris Fleming, ironically, the guy that made that Telecaster. He now runs the Gretsch Master Built program.
Oh, wow.
And I had a 59 Jet Firebird that was just stupid guitar. And I donated it. Didn't donate it. Fender had it. They're making me a copy of it. So I'll have that soon. I'll have a Gretsch here. It's really silly.
Cool.
But is there a difference between the ribbon thickness on the 121 and the 121L enough to make the mic sound different? We kind of talked about this earlier, but go ahead.
Yeah. I would not use the live version in the studio because it takes some of the transient response out of the mic being thicker. You lose some of the highs. On the road, hardly matters. As a matter of fact, you're trying to contain highs and control them on the road a lot of times, and so that mic can help. But in the studio, I'd go for the regular. And if you want to use one to switch hit studio and live, I'd go with the regular. Yeah. And just be sure that, when you're done with your gig, either you or somebody else takes care of the mic. Carefully, gets it out of the stand, puts it in its box, and puts it away so it doesn't get kicked around a lot. It'll be just fine.
So another good question here. It says, has Line 6 or Digi ever approached you guys about developing a 121 SEM for their gear? And then somebody else comes in and says, DigiDesign has a 121.
Yeah, a number of companies have.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of cool.
We get that, too. Maybe you can advise me on that, because I get a lot of guys that want to, do a plug-in that's a 65. And
I think it's kind of cool.
Is it a licensing deal, or do you just let them do it because, it's goodwill for your brand? Or
Yeah, you do that. You let them do it. They're never going to get it exactly,
no,
in that
world.
Yeah. But it sort of gives people an introduction to who you are. Oh, that's kind of a cool sound. I wonder what it really sounds like.
I thought of it sort of like a drug dealer move. Like, here's a little taste, If you want some more, go see John. But let's see what else. Dan, since you're a cabinet builder, I'm not really, but I kind of design them. Have you ever considered building a cab for live use with a Royer built in? No, not really. It's a great idea, but what I'm doing is committing someone to a microphone choice, which I think, it makes sense, but I might just, it's probably too narrow of a market for me to do.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. I'd be happy to build a one-off for somebody if they wanted to integrate something.
Well, really what you'd want is just to make a good guitar.
What if you come out with a better mic that's shaped differently than the 121 next year? Or 2 or 5 years from now, then this guy goes, oh, I have the old cabinet and it only holds a 121.
There you go, yeah, like the 101,
like the 101,
it'd be too big,
The 122 that's out there, it looks like a similar format as that, but yeah, this is, 30-40% larger. But yeah, that's a good question. Not really sure. Back here earlier, Madison 56 asked, were those old mics Elvis used, like on Hound Dog ribbon mics? I think for the most part they were.
Yeah, they were.
RCA mics were all ribbons, right?
Yeah.
Except for the 56 or whatever, or the 55, the big one that he always used live.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah,
but I know in the studio a lot of times he used a 44. That big RCA 44.
Yeah, with the
one.
Kind of had that angle on it.
Right.
Yeah, that one I know is a ribbon, but that round one, like James Hetfield uses them now.
Got it. And I don't know the mic.
I think it's a 55 is what it's called.
Okay.
And
I'll take your word.
But it looks like a big bar of soap with rails on it.
There's one other question up there from before that I noticed. Do you think using a ribbon lessens the need for compression? You'd have to listen to it. It does definitely take the edge off the highs. It's not that it's taking the edge off the highs of your amp. It's taking the edge off that's usually created by, say, condenser mics or a 57. That's gone. You get a big low end. You might not need compression or as much compression.
True. Well, also, you kind of brought up a good point earlier that the response of the ribbon mic is more like a human ear. And I noticed that especially with the one here that we're playing with, that it tends to do the same thing at high volumes that my ears do.
Yeah.
That I get a little bit more emphasis on the mid-range. Where they call it the Fletcher-Munson curve, where your brain naturally kind of rolls off a little bit here and there to protect you. And you can move the mic around and do the exact same thing.
You can.
You know, like,
Yeah, I know.
and almost follow that Fletcher-Munson curve. Because, you know, like a 100-watt Marshall when you're standing in the room sounds totally different than when you go in the control room, like you were saying, because your brain is going, oh, easy.
Yeah, overload, whoa.
Yeah, but the microphone's not. So I've noticed with this, moving, the mic doesn't do it intuitively by itself, but if you move it around, you can sort of approximate, like this is what it sounds like when you're in the room with a 100-watt Marshall.
Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah.
If you back it off 6 inches, 8 inches, you get a little more cabinet development, and you hear a little more of the room. It almost sounds bigger.
Right.
When you get in tight and immediate, that's a really cool thing too. But when you're tight and immediate, like a 1-inch move, can really change the way that thing.
And just so you guys know, we're close mic on this deal, and I don't know. We were already gone to an hour and 10 minutes. If you guys aren't losing interest, maybe I can run out and move them back while you answer some questions.
You want to do that?
I'll go out there and move the 121 maybe back 2 feet or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'll leave the 122 up against the grill.
Yeah, okay.
And then we can switch between them.
Maybe was the 122 the one that was? No, you've got that adjusted.
They're
whichever one you want to
same,
move. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a couple of good questions here. If you don't mind, just kind of rolling with the questions. And I'll be back in 90 seconds.
I'll be here.
All right, cool.
Killer.
Guys, beat up John now. I'll turn my mic off so you don't hear me doing all that stuff. But there's a couple of good questions on there right now.
Man, I'm looking at that guitar. I just want to grab it and play.
Go for it.
So let's see. Can you discuss common applications for the stereo Royer? Guys, I have to tell you, I really appreciate these questions, man. A lot of good questions. The stereo Royer has a finer, narrower, thinner ribbon element. It's dead flat, and it extends a few K higher than the 121. So I like to put it, it's a great drum overhead mic because it's locked into a bloom line pattern, meaning each ribbon element is exactly 90 degrees from the other. So if this is the center point, your left ribbon element is 45 degrees in this direction, your right ribbon element is 45 degrees in this direction. And that's called an XY pattern. You get a beautiful stereo image. Again, on the Royer website, if you go to the demo CDs, we can send them to you for free. If you want to order them, we'll just pop them in the mail. Or you can download the CDs. Or you can just listen, online to the different tracks. But you'll hear how that stereo image captures things. The common applications are drum overheads. Michael Wagner's using them on electric guitars. You can see one of his positions for that. You can't close mic with our stereo microphone because the ribbon element isn't as thick, it's not as robust. So you'll blow that ribbon element if you get really tight. But choirs, sections, like brass sections is an overhead, or a reed section is an overhead, or an overall room mic. We have a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay, let's have a quick listen here. So I moved the 121 back about 2.5 feet. And that should be everything you're hearing right now. Let me just make sure I actually just mute everything else. The room mic's still on. And then just for comparison, the 122, little close mic, so you can't hear it, but I'm hearing it. It's definitely a little more body up close. And then we'll go back.
Now this is back, what, about 2 feet, you said?
Yeah, 2.25, roughly. So let me heat this channel up a little more. Actually, I can do it here on the preamp and get a little more gain out of it. Oh yeah, that's great. Actually, with these two mics together, it's gigantic.
Isn't that a great sound?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get some room into it. It's dynamite, man.
So let me put them, now let's mix them. We'll have those two just on. Let me solo those so I can hear it better in the phones. Oh my goodness, listen to this. This is just those two mics soloed right now. That's huge.
Woo!
That's gigantic.
Daddy, it's loud too. Whoa.
Yeah, well, that's because I got them soloed.
Yeah.
I got my solo mix really hot on here.
Wow.
But yeah, if I just go back down to the regular mix now where we have the room mics on, the room mic on.
that just the room mic?
No, that's the 121 and the 122 and the room mic, which is a Neumann KSM 105.
Come here real quick.
Yeah. And it's not hugely loud now because I don't have them soloed.
Right.
Go back down to a clean sound. But here, let me solo those two again just so you can hear them.
Wow.
It's a good combination.
Great. Yeah. It's a great sounding amp too, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's our Empire.
Great.
It's a little...
Just rocking.
very versatile. Holy cow, man. I'm getting really turned on by this, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you guys hear that out there? Is that coming across on the broadcast? I know this gets compressed like crazy, but...
I'm hearing it through the wall. It sounds great.
Yeah, my headphones are just... I'm seriously getting a little bit of a buzz right now.
You've got a freaking loud. No wonder you're getting a buzz. It's like, woo!
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
Volume
got to
buzz.
go back to the regular mix now without the solo mix. Then I can bring the 314 in just for a little high end. Then we go here to channel 2. I'm not sure though. I think I'm getting a little still nasty. Let me turn that off and solo those two again. Damn.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, thanks, John. I learned something today.
Cool.
I learned about miking up 65 amps.
Yeah, man.
Wow, that sounds huge. And these are really kind of cheap headphones.
I've heard a lot of guys sticking their 121s on 65s, and it just sounds so good.
Yeah.
like,
Man, thank you, dude. This is... I'll go up even to the highest gain.
Here's a good question. What channel was that ZZ tone
That's
coming
channel
from?
2, which is sort of my 1968 to 1972 channel.
Man, that was
So
badass. Can you do that again?
Yeah, do it on there. If you listen to it, let me solo those two mics, and so you can really hear it. So this is just you soloed, right? Yeah.
Wow, that's
works.
really good, man.
Somebody look at it. Ha ha. We got good ZZ Top guys on
Yeah,
here.
man.
I'm showing my redneck roots. Yeah, I can play that stuff all day long. Sing around just going. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, man.
All that good old ZZ Stop. Perhaps do an uncompressed demo for download on the website. Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, we need to do that. I need to get proficient. Are you proficient at Pro Tools?
Not great, but we can get somebody. You know what we could do is take some 65s, just go to a good studio, and just track some amps.
Well, I
get some
can
different
always
sounds.
get time over at Henson.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If they have an open room over there, the studio manager Farial, hi Farial, if you're watching.
Hi, Fariel.
Henson is, Farial.
Yeah, that studio's great too.
I lend them gear over there, and she's got a London in her office that she hands out to people like candy.
Wow.
Yeah, she's generated so much business for me.
Nice,
And
nice. That's great.
and So yeah,
Let's go over there. Bring somebody. They might have a house engineer.
Because I can just pack up this Mac and we can broadcast from there while we do it. Well, actually, Brendan O'Brien's number 2 guy, Kevin. I can't remember his last name now. I'm sorry, Kevin. I love you, man. I just forgot your last name.
Look at that. Jeff and John will let you in D.
Hey, there you go.
All right.
Right on. Yeah, D is where I did my demos last year. When I did the Tupelo and Monterey and all those things last year, that was in Hinson D, where John Lennon cut the rock and roll album. And I had food poisoning that day.
Oh.
So I'm like running to the bathroom every 3 minutes, going cut and had to run. And then Kevin and the other guys that worked at Hinson, they were like, hey man, John Lennon recorded here. And that was when he was in his Brandy Alexander phase. So he was puking in that toilet too. I'm like, oh, thanks.
That's great to know. Right.
Now I feel
great visual.
Now I feel closer to John Lennon.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like that.
I'm sure he's paying attention to everybody who's ever used that toilet since then too.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm thinking about old ZZ Top. What is all that stuff now? Oh, what is it? It's got to be down here. Yeah, here, listen to that on the phones. You can't hear it. It sounds pretty right.
I can hear it through the wall. Through the wall, it's like all that low end is happening. It's great.
Yeah, but I mean, just with the moving those mics, right? Wow, good tip, John.
Wow, man, that is tight.
Excellent tip.
That is tight.
Yeah, if you laid a bass, I mean, that's with no compression either. We could fatten that up with compression.
Sure, absolutely. But I mean, right there, that's just tight.
That's just 2 mics. We're soloed on those 2 mics. There's no room mic. There's no anything else.
Yeah.
We're just soloed on those 2 mics.
That's great. It's so grindy and like clean, but grindy crunch.
There's all the note clarity is still there.
Yeah.
So can we just tape that off and leave those mics out there for now?
Sure. Nobody walk here.
Don't touch. Well, gee, guys, we're getting an hour and 20 minutes now, this is the longest broadcast we've ever done, which leads me to the next topic of we need to do it again.
Let's.
Yeah, this is great.
Absolutely, man. I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic having you here.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
And
really appreciate it.
We can sit here and chat for a few more minutes. I know a lot of guys are probably waiting to log off. So we'll kind of just wind it down right now. But, we'll have John back maybe, how about in 2 weeks?
I might be, I think 2 weeks. Let me look at the calendar.
Let me know.
I'm leaving for Germany, Music Mesa, I think it's in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, for Mesa. Right.
Yeah, but we'll do it soon, and we'll.
You can just Skype in from Mesa, and, from the floor at Mesa, which is.
Yeah, but then I can't sit here and grind and groove.
Yeah,
you can. Listen to that.
We need to get it better. What I need to do is figure out some way where we can get monitors in here, like whether it's an in-ear or something, so that we can hear what's going on.
That would be cool.
Because the minute you put a speaker in, it just goes through the. And even with the headphones, they get close to these mics, and you're toast.
Right.
But.
Well, guys, one way or the other, though, we'll get back. We'll get back and do it again and really get into some guitar mic and stuff. And,
oh, yeah. Look at this. No all-nighter, not very rock and roll. We'll stay here if you guys will order us a pizza and have it delivered to 11439 Van Owen Street.
Yeah. Good pizza.
Yeah. Real pizza. Not this pizza slut stuff.
Yeah.
This is great stuff. And it's really been fun. And I think we've all learned something. I definitely did. I'm sitting here just going, oh, holy cow. Like, yeah, just having those 2 mics, like, now I want to redo all my...
How cool. You just went out and make the move, come back and then listen.
I just randomly went, little 2.25 feet, and here we are.
You know what it's like? It's like if you've got a great amp and a great guitar, and you detune or you change your tone settings, something brand new.
Yeah.
You know, what the hell? And it's like that with good mics and good pre's. You try something different and go, whoa, there's something new. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Well, it's really, because I say it every day, I'm just a guitar player. So in most of these situations, I've been the passive guy. The engineer's moving stuff around, and I go, "Oh, I like that better."
Yeah.
I don't then go, "What did you do?" Let's go. That's better. It's like going to the eye doctor. Better, worse, better, worse.
Exactly. Right.
And I've just been the guy standing there going, "Oh, this is cool."
That was a great move. I mean, just move it back, almost like random. Okay, I'm going to do this.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Yeah. I'm still on channel 2 there. Coming through the wall.
Oh, yeah.
drop D, right? I gotta hear what that sounds like on the headphones. Sorry. Squealy. Woo. That's just huge. Wow.
Can I hear?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's absolutely giant.
Sorry, guys.
I don't have any, there's no EQing on this, so we could really fatten it, but. Yeah, that's crazy. Man. So again, we're just listening to two Royer mics right now. Let me turn everything else on.
Man, every time I put those headphones in, I can't help but make guitar face. It's like, oh yeah. Guitar face.
All right. Wow, how fun. And what else did you have? What else did you bring? Did you want to show people your magnets? And
hey, why don't we do one last little piece of fun?
Yeah, man, do it. This stuff's great. I love it. I'm geeking out like everyone on here.
All right, guys, we're geeking out. I know this has gone on forever. We'll stop this in just a second. But one of the reasons ribbons are so much smaller now, these are the old magnets people used to use. These are the ceramic magnets. You know, look at that. They're kind of weak and
nothing on the sleeve.
Yeah. You need These are the reasons that RCA 44s needed 6 pounds of magnet.
Oh my gosh.
Just to create enough magnetic energy to make the ribbon work. Look at these, man. All right.
You can't even get them apart.
I'm serious. I'm not goofing with this.
Yeah.
All right, check this out. Let me put this on the floor. All right, I got 2 magnets here. See that? Now watch this.
That's amazing.
See right through my thick wall here? Look at this. On the wrist.
That's incredible.
Hey, guys.
That's amazing.
Isn't that
so
cool?
that one little bar has more than that whole pile of the ceramic.
Oh yeah, much more.
Wow.
And it's great in the morning if you haven't had your coffee and you're kind of depressed. You know, you get
go Frankenstein with it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, magnets. These are neodymium magnets, and they're so much more powerful.
And they weigh nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because we have some speakers that I haven't quite gotten there with guitar speakers yet, but I have my JBL PA out there has neodymium speakers in it, and the cabinets are huge, but you can carry them.
Yeah.
You know, that's amazing.
We can get more into that next time, guys, because you can have fun with magnets. It's just wild. You can get these things caught on your fingers and rip right through them. I had a guy at a demo once get him stuck in the webbing.
Oh, no.
And he stands up, he's like, ow, 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 ow. He finally flings these things, and he's got blood running down his hand.
With it. Oh, my God.
Everybody in the room was laughing so hard.
Dude, stop. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, we have a bleeder. All right.
That's funny. All right, guys. Well, I think we should probably call it. We're at an hour and a half, which is amazing. We had this many people stay on this long. So thank you, guys, for your time. We really
guys, thanks so much.
It.
Really.
Today is March 23rd, 2011. This is John Jennings from Royer, and I'm Dan Boul from 65 Amps. And you will see us together again very soon. And we've all learned a little bit about miking and technique and everything today. Everybody's saying thanks. Thank you, guys. John, thank you again.
Thanks, Dan.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Really appreciate it, man.
And tell your dad's wife thanks for the carrot cake. It was fantastic. We'll put that on public so she can see it.
Machiko bread. My father's wife, Machiko, makes the best carrot cake in the world. It comes in these, she'll send them in these rectangular saran-wrapped packages. We call them the heroin bricks over at Royer. It's like a box of heroin bricks. Shows up. All right, the heroin bricks.
Yeah, Orient Express right there. Look at this one. Great facial hair, guys. See you next week. That's great. Well, thank you. You know, when you work for yourself and you're lazy, I don't like to shave because I don't have to. I had to wear a suit and shave for years. I don't do jack now.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and sign off.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it, man. Great questions. Very cool.
I'm going to stick around for questions for like 2 minutes while I get this recording up on the web. So if you guys have some quick questions, feel free to type them in here and John can answer while I'm saving this recording up to the web. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Ciao. Peace.
All right.